Now back to the Parliament story. A suspect arrested and charged with housebreaking, theft and arson, and will also be charged under the National Key Point Act in relation to the fire that gutted the Parliament building in Cape Town yesterday. Benjamin Ntuli is a former member of the Portfolio Committee on Defence in Parliament and the head of the Civilian Secretariat for Police. A very good day, and thank you so much for making the time to speak to us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
So many
listeners too.
Yeah, so many questions about the effectiveness of the security cluster in preventing large-scale risks in the country. The police service is once again found wanting in responding to the fire at the Parliament building. Does the arrest of a suspect give hope?
Firstly, let me correct things. I'm Benjamin Ntuli. I'm a chief director in the Civilian Secretariat for Police Service. Yes, you are correct. I'm not the head. I'm just one of the chief directors. But indeed, as a former member of Parliament, I'm quite shocked. And actually, indeed, it's a sad day and a very regrettable incident for what has happened, because I know that place very well, and I could imagine the loss of some of the material. You know, there's a library there. There's apart from the gym, but I'm just the knowledge that institution has been actually keeping, that I'm sure it will not be easy to retrieve. So on that score, I just joined also those who are feeling the pain, that the loss, that the fire that has engulfed the institution. But in terms of the security, I'm also still appalled by the fact to say, where was the security when this was happening? Because these are part of what you call national key points that 24/7 ought to be guarded. And from the perspective of what my current job I'm doing now, as part of the Civilian Secretariat, which is our mandate to look at the oversight over the work of the police, they know the security of the place in the country. It's indeed quite shocking.
So who do we blame? Which specific arm of the security cluster is in charge at this point? Is it SABC? Is it SANDF? Security in the ministry? Who is in charge? Who do we hold accountable for this?
Look, all the entities on safety and security, particularly in this context, like that national key points, our Ministry for Police, I'm not saying I put a blame, but I know that our colleagues who are in security at that institution, I think they could have done better in this instance.
This perceived threat to domestic infrastructure, what is intelligence telling us about what is at play? Should South Africans be told about such findings to avoid assumptions and fake news?
I think indeed they should be told. Maybe let me just come here. You remember in 1996, based on the Constitution, there's what you call National Crime Prevention Strategy, which was then expanded into a policy in 2016, in which we then had what you call a white paper on safety and security. Now, that paper it's a white paper. It gives up a very clear indication that security should be a business of every one of us. But now, in this case, that doesn't exonerate those who are actually directly employed in Parliament to provide security. Who they report to, their principals, those are the people that actually, together with the officers at that level, that have to take accountability to this mayhem, if I may call it.
So there has been conversation since last year, the July unrest and the outbreak, about whether some cabinet members should be keeping their positions. What are your thoughts about this conversation?
Look, I'm currently a serving member of the public service under the Civilian Secretariat. I would not explicitly present my opinion on that, because ethically, it will not be correct of me to judge my colleagues, but there are institutions that, including mine, that are actually obliged to ensure that they provide the necessary security to the nation, including its national installations, like this one in this case. I think indeed, safe to say where I'm seated, I'm saying we could do better than what we are doing at the moment. Thank you.
What are your thoughts on the capability of these structures that are supposed to provide security? Are they capable enough? Do they need assistance? What kind of assistance do they require?
I wouldn't tell, because I'm sure there must be an issue. But, you know, as public servants, we're expected to do our work diligently, effectively, and efficiently. And in this case, I'm not sure if that presents us well to say we're doing our work in that regard, looking at the pairs that the taxpayers are forking out to us, you know, through the taxes, that we are indeed giving them a better service. I'm sure we could do better than what we are doing at the moment.
Mr. Ntuli, tell us more about the work of the Civilian Secretariat for Police and what kind of interactions you're having with these structures that are responsible for our safety, and how you interrogate their work.
Okay, let me start basically with what Secretariat we're looking for or we're about. Our mandate is to provide the Secretariat backup to the Ministry of Police. How we do it? Through research. We are being guided by research to fact-finding missions and advise the minister accordingly if the bill in our security cluster is to be amended or beefed up. This is what we'll take it through our colleagues in the what you call legal unit. That is legislation that is seized with that. Come again?
Sorry, you can continue.
Yes, I was saying that work is being done by our colleagues in the legislative unit. But then there's the unit that is called monitoring and evaluation that does actually the actual assessment to say to what extent are these institutions actually living up to the optimal maximum utilization of their work and their mandate in their context. Then there'll be one, for example, then the one that I'm heading, I'm dealing with the one for public outreach. I'm taking the minister to the Izimbizo out there when there are critical incidents that happens, like your murders and other things that are taxi violence, that are worrying, threatening security, safety of communities. That's where I indeed take the minister there so that he interfaces with the public out there. Now, in terms of what we can, I think, try and beef up in the security cluster, to me, is that perhaps the institutions that are directly responsible for this at different intervals need to be assessed. You know, like what you'll normally do in the army. You will then need to also say, to what extent are we ready? You do a dummy run to try and check if indeed these people are up to the task at any time, given in a moment when an incident happens, that they are ready to take up their positions and defend the country or that installation. So in this case, to me, I think the drill, that's what I would say is a bit missing, because we assume that Benjamin is doing his work. You only realize at times when things all of a sudden happen that you realize that the state of readiness of my unit was not ready as up being to the task. So in this case, I'm also imploring that the institutions that are actually mandated to execute their responsibility in the context of providing safety to key national installations, I think they can do better than they are doing at the moment. Because it's indeed, to me, knowing that institution, how it looked like, having lived there and worked there for 10 years, it's indeed sad to hear about what has happened since yesterday. Thank you.
So due to your proximity to the conversations and according to your research findings, why aren't we up to the task?
Look, at times it becomes laxity. It becomes laxity. If I'm too much comfortable in my position, that I feel I'm not checked, you see, I'm not checked, then I'm ready, I'm likely to sleep on the job, which ethically it's quite incorrect. Because remember, the job up I'm having, anybody else could have been on this job, but unfortunately did not have that interview and all that at the time. Not that I'm special, not that we are special as public servants who are in our positions now. So to me, these are some of the things that must guide us, that the time I'm tired, I must take leave. And the time I'm tired of now working, I must then say goodbye to the job. Give it to other people who are still have got a zeal to do their work.
Just in wrapping up our conversation, I want to ask you two things as a person who used to work in Parliament. Number one is, what do you think happened yesterday? And I know it's speculation at this time. But two, how do you feel about what has happened?
No, let me start with the latter one. I feel very bad, man. I feel very bad. To me, no, the colleagues who were at the job, they were not doing their job. Remember, it is not for the first time that such an intrusion happens. There was at some stage one guy who went into the Den Haze and even blessed himself with the liquor of the presidents in the Den Haze. There's some laxity that the company or whoever the group that is dealing with security in Parliament are not up to their task. There's something, because it's something that we do 24/7. Now I'm wondering, where were they? Because you don't walk out from the post without ensuring that there is somebody else who comes in to replace you. That's the essence of the security 24/7 of a national key point. You can't leave the post once you are not certain that there's a raid, somebody is ready to taking over from the post. So to me, I find it very regrettable, and it's a sad history indeed. Thank you, ma'am.
I was asking you, what do you think happened? Because there's a conversation about whether it's just a pure crime or if it's political.
No. To me, irrespective of, I'm not going to speculate. I'm just looking at what has happened or what happened. There'll be an investigation that will be done. But I'm looking at purely at the incident itself, that we shouldn't give such a service to our people. That's a very shoddy one indeed.
Thank you so much for talking to us. Benjamin Ntuli is the Chief Director in the Civilian Secretariat for Police. Thanks for making the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you.
Right, we continue. Let's take a look. We continue to monitor the Parliament story where a fire broke out in the early hours of yesterday morning.